Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
The transport shuttle descended through Kepri's atmosphere like a burning needle, its hull groaning under the strain of ion storms that never seemed to rest. Outside the viewport, the sky churned in unnatural shades. Deep violet clouds streaked with electric blue lightning, as if the planet itself was alive and irritated by visitors. Dr. Elian Voss barely looked up. He sat strapped into a worn acceleration seat, reviewing data on a flickering hollow pad balance against his knee. Lines of alien physiology scrolled endlessly: muscle densities, neural pathways, metabolic anomalies. Most of it had been redacted, classified under military clearance. That alone told him everything he needed to know. First time on Kepri? The pilot asked over his shoulder, voice half buried under the rumble of turbulence. Elian didn't answer immediately. He zoomed in on a grainy anatomical scan, an enormous skeletal structure with layered plating that didn't match any known evolutionary branch. First time seeing something this contradictory, he said finally. The pilot snorted. That's one word for it. Another jolt shook the shuttle. Warning lights flickered briefly before stabilizing. You know what they call that thing down there? The pilot continued. The apex beast. Some of the guys just call it the end. Elian set the hollow pad down. Everything has a beginning, he said, which means it also has a reason. The pilot didn't respond to that. Most people didn't. The outpost came into view through the storm, a cluster of reinforced structures embedded into a jagged plateau, surrounded by layered defense grids that shimmered faintly in the charged air. Outpost Kepri wasn't built to explore. It was built to contain. As the shuttle touched down with a heavy thud, Elian felt it immediately. The tension. Not the kind that came from war or fear alone, but something deeper, something watchful. The hatch opened with a hiss. Hot, metallic air flooded in. Elian stepped out. Every head turned toward him, not with curiosity, with skepticism. He adjusted the strap of his field kit and walked forward, boots crunching against the dust-coated landing pad. Soldiers stood in loose formation nearby, their armor scarred and patched, their expressions hardened by whatever they had seen here. One of them stepped forward. Captain Rice, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that looked like it had forgotten how to relax years ago. "You're the vet?" Rice asked, looking Elian up and down. "Elian Voss," he replied calmly. "Xeno-veterinary specialist." Rice's eyebrow twitched. "You're joking." Elian didn't smile. No. A few nearby soldiers exchanged glances, barely hiding their amusement. Rice exhaled through his nose. "We requested a xenobiologist, or a weapons analyst. Not this. This," Elian said evenly, "is exactly what you need." That earned him a sharper look. Rice stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Let me make something clear. Doctor, whatever you think this isn't a zoo. We don't study these creatures. We don't rehabilitate them." Elian met his gaze without flinching. "What do you do, then?" Rice's expression hardened. "We survive them." The interior of the outpost was colder than Elian expected. Not physically. Temperature control was stable, but in design. Clean metallic corridors. Minimal lighting. No unnecessary comfort. Everything here had a purpose, and none of it involved ease. As they walked, Elian noticed the details others might miss. Scorch marks along reinforced walls. Emergency bulkheads scratched from the inside. Sections that had clearly been rebuilt more than once. How many containment failures? Elian asked. Rice didn't slow. Classified. That many, then. Rice shot him a look. "You ask a lot of questions." "That's my job." "No," Rice said. "Your job is to stay out of the way." They reached a secure door, thick, layered, humming faintly with energy. 2 guards stepped aside as Rice approached. A panel scanned his biometrics, then emitted a low tone of authorization. The door slid open. "Welcome to your assignment," Rice said. The observation chamber overlooked a vast containment field. Elian stepped forward slowly and stopped. For a moment, his mind refused to process what he was seeing. The apex beast wasn't just large. It was impossible. It lay partially coiled within the containment zone, its body stretching far beyond what the eye could comfortably track. Segmented armor plates overlapped like a living fortress, each one reflecting faint, shifting light from within. Bioluminescent veins pulsed beneath the surface, slow, steady, like a heartbeat too vast to comprehend. Its head rested low, partially obscured by shadow, but even from this distance, Elian could see the shape of it. Angular, ancient, built for something far beyond simple predation. XK, 9 Leviathan, Rice said. Top of the food chain. No natural predators. No known origin. Elian didn't respond. He stepped closer to the glass. The beast didn't move, but something about it felt wrong. Not dangerous. Not aggressive. Wrong. How long has it been here? Elian asked quietly. 3 months. And in that time, Rice crossed his arms. We've lost 12 people, 2 full containment grids, and enough equipment to fund a small war. Elian nodded slowly. And you think it's a problem? Rice frowned. It is the problem. Elian tilted his head slightly, studying the faint irregularity in the beast's pulsing glow. No, he said softly. It's reacting to one. Rice's patience snapped. It tore through a reinforced barrier, like it was nothing. And yet, Elian replied, it's still here. That gave Rice pause. Elian gestured toward the beast. If it wanted to leave, it would have. You said it yourself. Nothing can stop it. Rice didn't answer, because he couldn't. Elian leaned closer to the observation glass. The pulsing light beneath the beast's armor flickered, just slightly. A stutter, a flaw in the rhythm, like a heart skipping a beat. Elian's expression changed. Subtle, but certain. It's not stable, he said. Rice blinked. What? Elian turned, calm but focused now. Your apex predator isn't preparing to attack. He glanced back at the creature. It's trying to survive. The alarm didn't wait for permission. A deafening klaxon tore through the outpost, red lights flooding the corridor outside. Rice's comm unit crackled to life. Containment breach in Sector 3. Energy net failure. The Leviathan is static. Then, down. It's down. Silence filled the observation room. Rice swore under his breath and grabbed his weapon. Elian didn't move right away. He looked back at the beast one last time, at the flickering, unstable glow beneath its armor, and then he understood. Not a monster, not a weapon, a system on the verge of collapse. He grabbed his kit. I'm coming with you. Rice turned sharply. Absolutely not. You said it yourself, Elian replied, already moving toward the door. Nothing can stop it. He paused just long enough to meet Rice's eyes. But something might be able to save it. And with that, he ran toward the chaos. The corridor shook as Elian and Captain Rice sprinted through it. Emergency lights painted everything in flashing red, turning the sterile metal walls into something alive, something pulsing, warning, screaming. Overhead, the klaxon howled without rhythm, as if even the alarm system had lost control. Sector 3 is collapsing, a voice shouted over comms. All units evacuate. Repeat, evacuate. Rice didn't slow. Elian kept pace, his field kit slamming against his side with every step. What exactly failed? Elian asked, breath steady despite the chaos. The energy net, Rice snapped. It's designed to disrupt its nervous system if it gets too active. Elian's jaw tightened. Disrupt how? Rice didn't answer immediately. That hesitation was enough. How? Elian pressed. Overload, Rice said finally. It floods the thing with feedback, forces it down. Elian's stomach dropped. You didn't force it down, he said. You crashed its entire biological system. Rice shot him a glare. It was at, or let it tear the outpost apart. And now, Rice didn't respond, because now the outpost might still be destroyed, just in a different way. The blast doors to Sector 3 were half open, jammed and sparking. Smoke poured through the gap, thick and metallic, carrying the sharp scent of burnt circuitry and something else beneath it, something organic. Rice forced the door wider with brute strength and stepped through first. Elian followed, and immediately stopped. The containment zone was unrecognizable. What had once been a control field was now a scar across the landscape, Craters carved into reinforced flooring, shattered emitters, cables hanging like exposed nerves. The air itself shimmered with residual energy, distorting vision in waves. And at the center of it all, the apex beast. It wasn't moving, not like before, not like something resting. This was different, wrong. Its massive body lay partially twisted. Armor plates cracked in places where the energy net had overloaded. The bioluminescent veins beneath its surface no longer pulsed smoothly. They flickered, erratic, violent, like a failing star. A group of soldiers stood at a distance, weapons raised but uncertain. None of them were firing. None of them wanted to be the reason it reacted. Report. Rice barked. A technician, pale and shaking, turned toward him. The net spiked beyond tolerance. We tried to shut it down, but it fed back into the system. It hit the Leviathan all at once. All at once. Elian repeated, stepping forward slowly. Yes, like a surge. That's not a surge, Elian said. That's systemic collapse. The beast's body jerked. A deep, guttural sound rippled from its chest. Not a roar, not aggression. Pain. Elian felt it. Not as fear, as recognition. Stay back, one of the soldiers shouted as Elian moved closer. It's unstable. I know, Elian said. He didn't stop. Each step brought more detail into focus. The cracks in the armor weren't just external damage. They revealed something beneath. Not flesh in the way humans understood it, but layered structures, shifting, luminous, like living circuitry fused with biology. A hybrid system. Organic and something else. No wonder had reacted so violently to the energy net. They hadn't just stunned it, they had scrambled it. Elian crouched slightly, narrowing his focus. Ignore the size. Ignore the danger. Look at the pattern. The flicker. The rhythm. There. A surge of light raced along the B-side, then collapsed inward toward its core. Too fast. Too chaotic. No regulation. Cardiac cascade, Elian whispered. Rice stepped closer behind him. Speak plainly, Doctor. It's dying, Elian said, and not quietly. The beast convulsed again, this time harder. The ground trembled beneath the impact. The flickering light intensified, shifting from unstable pulses to a rapid, blinding flare that leaked through every crack in its armor. The air vibrated. A high-pitched whine began to build, low at first, then rising. What is that? A soldier asked, panic creeping into his voice. Rice's face went pale. Charge up. Elian turned. Charge up. These things, Rice swallowed. When their core destabilizes, they don't just shut down. The whine grew louder, sharper. They release everything at once. Elian's mind snapped into clarity. A biological failsafe, or a catastrophic failure. Either way, detonation, he said. Rice nodded once. You got seconds. Time didn't slow. It sharpened. Elian's vision narrowed to the beast alone. Everything else, the soldiers, the alarms, the fear, faded into background noise. Pattern. Find the pattern. The glow wasn't random. It was trying to stabilize, but failing. Feedback loops collapsing in on themselves. Like a heart trying to beat without rhythm. 2 seconds. That's all he would get. 2 seconds to interrupt a system the size of a building. 2 seconds to do what no one here even believed was possible. Behind him, someone shouted, Fall back. It's going to blow. Elian didn't move. Then he ran forward. Vas! Rice yelled, What are you doing? Elian didn't answer, because there was no time left for explanations. Heat slammed into him as he crossed the final stretch. The air near the beast was thick, charged, almost liquid with energy. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to turn back, to survive. He ignored all of it. He slid to a stop beside the creature's neck, one of the few places where the armor plates overlapped imperfectly. A weakness, or an access point. The glow beneath that section was the brightest, the most unstable. That was the core. That's it, Elian murmured. The whine peaked. A soldier screamed, 1 second. Elian's hands were already moving. He tore open his field kit, grabbing the emergency injector. It was never meant for something like this. Its dosage calibrated for creatures a fraction of this size. Didn't matter. He adjusted at mid-motion, overriding safety limits, forcing the device to push far beyond its intended capacity. If your biology follows any logic at all, he muttered, breath steady despite everything. This will reach you. The beast convulsed again. The light flared, blinding. Elian didn't hesitate. He drove the injector forward, straight into the narrow gap between the plates, and triggered it. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. The wine held. The light burned. The world stood on the edge of annihilation. And Elian Voss didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't look away. Because this was the moment. 2 seconds. Everything balanced on them. For a fraction of a second, the universe held its breath. The injector hissed as it discharged its entire payload into the apex beast. Then, nothing. No immediate reaction. No explosion. No miracle. Just silence stretched to the breaking point. The blinding glow beneath the creature's armor continued to surge, spilling through fractures like molten light. The high-pitched whine remained, sharp, unbearable, rising toward a catastrophic peak. Behind Elian, boots pounded against metal as soldiers retreated. "Get back!" someone shouted. "It's too late." But Elian didn't move, because he knew something they didn't. Biology never responded instantly. Even at this scale, there was always a delay, a fraction of a second where systems decided whether to fail or recover. The injector clicked empty in his hand. Elian slowly released it, letting it fall against the beast's armored hide. His eyes stayed fixed on the glowing fractures. "Come on," he whispered. "Adapt." The word wasn't command. It was a belief, because that's what life did. It adapted or it died. The first change was almost imperceptible. A flicker, not chaotic, not violent, different. The surge of light racing along the beast's body slowed. Not much, but enough. The whine faltered, just slightly, a crack in the inevitability. Elian saw it instantly. "There," he breathed. Inside the beast, the nanofluid spread, not like medicine, like a translator. Human-designed stabilization particles interfacing with something utterly alien, something that wasn't purely organic, nor entirely mechanical. At first, the systems rejected it. Signals clashed. Patterns conflicted. The beast's core surged again in response, trying to purge the intrusion. The light spiked. The whine screamed higher. And for one terrifying instant, it seemed like the intervention had made things worse. Behind him, Rice shouted, "Voss, move!" Elian didn't, because this was the critical threshold, where most systems failed, where interference became collapse. Unless the system could learn. The nanofluid adapted. Microsecond by microsecond, it recalibrated, mapping the beast's internal signals, mimicking them, syncing with the erratic rhythm instead of fighting it. Instead of forcing control, it introduced balance, a counterpattern, a stabilizing echo. The chaotic pulses began to meet resistance, not from outside, but from within. The beast's core hesitated. For the first time since the overload, it paused. The whine broke, not stopped, but fractured. A jagged, uneven sound replaced a rising scream, like a signal losing coherence. The light beneath the armor flickered again, then again, each pulse less violent than the last. Elian exhaled slowly. Good. The beast's body trembled, not with convulsions now, but with strain, like something immense trying to hold itself together. A deep, resonant sound rolled from its chest. Not a roar, not pain, something deeper. A system recalibrating. "Report," Rice shouted from behind, his voice tight with disbelief. One of the technicians stared at a portable scanner, eyes wide. "The energy spike, it's dropping." "Dropping?" Another soldier echoed. "That's not possible." But it was, right in front of them. The glow began to dim, not completely, but enough to reveal the underlying pattern. The chaotic flashes smoothed into pulses, irregular at first, then gradually, steadily, even, like a heartbeat rediscovering its rhythm. The whine faded with it, collapsing into silence. The oppressive pressure in the air lifted. The distortion settled. The moment of detonation passed. No one moved. No one spoke, because no one trusted what they were seeing. Elian slowly lowered his shoulders, tension draining from his body in a controlled release. He reached out, carefully, deliberately, and placed his hand against the beast's armor. Warm, alive, stable. He closed his eyes for just a second. "You made it," he said quietly. Behind him, Boots approached. Rice stopped a few steps away, staring at the massive creature, like it might vanish if he blinked. "Explain," he said. Elian opened his eyes, but didn't turn. "It wasn't just an overload," he said. "Your energy net didn't suppress it. It disrupted its internal regulation." Rice frowned. "We know that." "No," Elian replied. "You measured that. You didn't understand it." He gently tapped the armor beneath his hand. "This isn't just muscle and bone. It's a hybrid system, biological processes integrated with energy conduction pathways. Think of it like a living reactor." Rice's expression darkened. "And we overloaded it." "You forced every system to fire at once," Elian said. "No regulation, no sequencing. It was heading toward total cascade failure. And your little injection fixed that?" Rice asked skeptically. Elian shook his head slightly. "It didn't fix it," he said. "It gave it a way to fix itself." The beast exhaled, a deep, thunderous breath that rolled across the broken containment zone. Several soldiers flinched instinctively, weapons raised halfway, then hesitated, because the creature didn't move aggressively. It didn't lash out. It didn't even open its eyes. It simply breathed, steady, controlled, alive. The scanner technician spoke again, voice trembling. Core activity stabilized. Silence. Then, "It's not going to detonate." The words hung in the air. Unreal. Unacceptable. True. Rice let out a slow breath, running a hand over his face. "I just watched you inject a collapsing apex predator the size of a building," he said, "with something designed for what livestock?" Elian almost smiled. "Close enough." Rice shook his head. "That should not have worked." Elian finally turned to face him. "No," he agreed. "It shouldn't have." He glanced back at the beast. "But it did." A low sound rumbled beneath them. Subtle, deep, different. Elian's attention snapped back immediately. "Wait!" The beast's chest rose again. Slower this time. More controlled. And then its head shifted. Just slightly. But enough. Enough to remind everyone present of one undeniable truth. Stabilized did not mean harmless. Weapons snapped up instantly. "Hold your positions." Rice barked. The beast's massive form adjusted again, armor plates sliding against each other with a heavy, grinding sound. Dust fell from its body. Fragments of broken containment tech slid away as it moved. Elian didn't step back, didn't raise his hands, didn't show fear, because he understood something now that no one else did. This wasn't a monster waking up. This was a survivor. The glow beneath its armor pulsed again. Not erratic, not violent. Steady, deliberate, alive. Elian felt his pulse match it for a moment. A strange, impossible synchronization. He didn't fully understand it, but he didn't need to. Not yet. The beast's head lifted slightly higher. The ground trembled. A shadow passed over Elian as its massive form shifted above him. Behind him, Rice whispered, "What have you done?" Elian didn't look away. He watched the creature, waited, listened, and quietly answered. "I saved its life." And for the first time since anyone had set foot on Khepri, the apex beast lived without destroying anything. Not because it had been contained, not because it had been defeated, but because, for 2 seconds, someone had understood it. The moment stretched thin as the apex beast fully awakened. Its head rose higher now, casting a vast shadow over the fractured containment zone. Plates of obsidian armor shifted against each other with a deep, grinding resonance, like tectonic plates adjusting after a quake. Every soldier had their weapon trained on it. No one fired. Not yet, because no one knew what would happen next. "Hold," Captain Rice ordered, his voice sharp but controlled. "Nobody shoots unless I give a command." His finger hovered dangerously close to the trigger. Elian heard it, felt it. One wrong movement, one misinterpretation, and everything would collapse back into violence. The beast inhaled again. Slower now, measured, its bioluminescent veins pulsed in a steady rhythm, casting faint light across the ruined ground. The chaotic energy from before was gone, replaced by something stable, controlled, alive. Then, its eyes opened. They were vast, not just in size, but in presence. Twin orbs of deep, shifting light, like looking into something ancient and impossibly aware. Not mechanical, not purely instinctual. Something in between, something that understood. The beast's gaze moved across the field, over the soldiers, the weapons, the destruction, and then it stopped on Elian. Time slowed again, not in reality, in perception, because in that instant, everything else became irrelevant. The soldiers faded. The alarms became distant echoes. There was only recognition. Elian didn't move, didn't reach for anything, didn't break eye contact. He stood there, small and fragile compared to the creature towering over him, and completely still. "Don't," Rice warned under his breath. "If it charges—" "It won't," Elian said quietly. "You don't know that." Elian's voice didn't change. "Yes," he said, "I do." The beast tilted its head slightly, a subtle motion, but deliberate, studying him. The glow beneath its armor shifted, just slightly brighter at the chest, then dimmed again. A signal, not of aggression, of awareness. Elian took a slow step forward. Weapons instantly clicked tighter behind him. "Voss," Rice snapped. "Trust me," Elian said. Rice hesitated. Every instinct he had screamed against it, but he had just witnessed the impossible. And for the first time since arriving on Kepri, he didn't interrupt. Elian stopped just within reach, close enough to feel the heat radiating from the beast's body, close enough to hear it breathe. Slow, deep, alive. He raised his hand. Not quickly, not threateningly, carefully, deliberately, the way you would approach something that could end you without effort, but might choose not to. "You're okay," Elian said softly. The words weren't translated, not into language, but into tone, into intent, into something older than speech. "You're safe." The beast didn't react immediately. Its gaze remained fixed on him, unblinking, processing, evaluating. Then, a low sound emerged from deep within its chest. Not loud, not violent, a resonance, deep enough to be felt in bone rather than heard. Several soldiers flinched. "Elian," one of them whispered. But Elian didn't move, because he understood. That sound wasn't a warning. It was a question. Slowly, impossibly, the beast lowered its head. Not fully, not submissively, but enough. Enough to close the distance between them. Enough to show restraint. A collective breath caught across the entire outpost. Weapons wavered. Not lowered, but no longer certain. Elian stepped forward one final pace and placed his hand against the beast's armor. Contact. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, warmth. Not just physical. Something deeper. A faint vibration passed through the armor beneath his palm, traveling up his arm like a pulse. The same rhythm he had stabilized. The same pattern he had restored. Now, shared. Elian closed his eyes briefly and felt it, the system, the flow, not fully understood, but no longer alien. "You were never the problem," he murmured. The beast exhaled, a long, controlled breath that washed over him like a wave of heated air. Its massive form relaxed, just slightly, enough to be seen, enough to be real. Behind them, Rice slowly lowered his weapon. "I don't believe this," he said. One by one, the soldiers followed, not out of trust, not yet, but out of uncertainty, and something else, something unfamiliar on this planet. Hope. Elian opened his eyes. The beast remained still, watching him, not as prey, not as threat, but as something different. "You felt it too, didn't you?" Elian said quietly. The beast's glow pulsed once in response. Steady, deliberate, alive. Rice stepped closer, still cautious. "What happens now?" Elian didn't look away from the creature. "That depends," he said. "On what?" Elian finally glanced back. "On whether we keep treating it like a weapon," he said, or start treating it like a living system. Rice frowned. It is a weapon. Elian shook his head. No, he said. It's something that can be used as one. He gestured lightly toward the beast. But that's not what it is. Silence settled again, but it was different now. No longer tense. No longer waiting for destruction. Just still. The beast shifted slightly, adjusting its position. Not aggressively. Carefully, as if aware of its own weight, of the fragile structures around it, of the beings watching it. Learning. Elian stepped back, slowly lowering his hand. The connection broke, but not entirely, because something had already changed. On both sides, the glow beneath the beast's armor pulsed once more. Strong, stable, alive, not a ticking bomb, not a monster waiting to strike, but a creature that had been understood. For the first time, Rice exhaled slowly. 2 seconds, he said. Elian nodded faintly. That's all it took, he replied. Above them, the storm over Kepri began to shift, not clearing, not ending, but changing, just enough to let a faint, unfamiliar light break through the clouds. And below, where fear had once ruled, something else had taken root. Not control, not dominance, but connection. The apex beast did not roar. It did not attack. It did not flee. It simply stood, alive, beside the one who had saved it. And for the first time, that was enough.